Welcome to all the bold, courageous, and powerful women tuning in to Find Your Fabulous. I'm your host, Dr. Diane, and it's time to ignite your full power. Are you ready to embrace your talents and worth and unleash the wise goddess within? I've got the information, inspiration, and revelation you need to ignite your personal power so you can stop playing small and reclaim the passion and purpose that we all hold within us. Connect with other powerful spiritual women who yearn to be fully expressed. The world needs you. Full power. Let me guide you to find your fabulous and ignite your inner goddess. It all starts now on the Find Your Fabulous show. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Diane Garrison, and you are listening to Find Your Fabulous on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour and let us help you experience the pathway to finding your fabulous. Join us every first and third Monday at 8 a.m. Pacific time and 10 a.m. Central time, where we will have information, inspiration, and revelation to help you ignite your personal power and reclaim the passion and purpose we all hold within us. I have with me today my very special guest, musical artist and productivity coach, Deborah Hurwitz, and my wonderful producer, Emily Bergen. Hello, ladies, and thank you for being here.
Hello.
Good morning.
Happy to be here.
In this mind-blowing episode, my guest, musical artist and productivity coach, Deborah Hurwitz, and I are going to explore the costs, mind, body, spirit of perfectionism, and how you can begin to explore a more loving pathway to productivity and achievement. But first, let me introduce you to Deborah. Using her signature PACT system, Deborah Hurwitz helps ambitious professionals to break through the paralysis of perfectionism and procrastination so they can complete the projects and goals that matter most to them. Deborah is a composer, conductor, and recording artist whose internationally acclaimed projects include Cirque du Soleil, Cyndi Lauper, and the Broadway smash hit Jersey Boys. She has written and arranged and produced music for television shows ranging from Sesame Street to CNN Tonight. She released 2 independent CDs as singer-songwriter Deborah Marlowe, and she performed on The Tonight Show, the Tony Awards, and twice at the White House. As both a career artist and the CEO of Cobalt Coaching, oh my God, I can't talk today, Deborah has mastered the art of rewiring entrenched patterns, eliminating doubts and distractions to achieve remarkable industry successes, while honoring her creative self-expression and personal integrity. She now helps a robust online tribe to do the same through her online shows and suite of coaching programs and courses. Deborah is also an award-winning speaker and co-author of the Amazon #1 bestseller, She Made It Happen, 22 inspiring stories from female entrepreneurs around the world.
Diane.
Damn, you're impressive, girl. I had the personal pleasure of participating in a women's retreat with Deborah in Spain last fall, and I can tell you she is very smart, deeply creative, and a whole lot of fun.
Well,
so once again, welcome, Deborah, and thank you for taking the time for this interview. And
my pleasure. Thank you so much. You are also very smart, very talented, and a whole lot of fun. So I was an instant yes when you asked me to be here. So yeah, let's keep the party going.
All righty. So Deborah, I usually start the interview by asking my guests, what does becoming full power mean to you, and how did you step into your personal power? I'm so curious how you moved from a full-time career in the music industry and showbiz into this life as a coach as well, helping
Mm.
perfectionists become more productive.
Yeah, helping perfectionists get shit done that matters. So yeah, I mean, of course, this is a big long story, and we'll distill it down to some of the nuggets and the essence milestones. But so in order of your question, coming into full power, I just want to say first off, I am still coming into my full power, as we all are, as works in progress. One of the first things we want to do with recovering perfectionists who are thinking this is an asset, I need to keep going for perfect, is just to embrace the path of progress and be a work in progress, to have projects and goals and dreams in process, because as long as we're breathing, we ain't done, and one of the things that perfectionism does is it replaces, shipping your work and showing up and experimentation and permission to take imperfect action with a holding back, waiting for some next perfect time. And we imagine that there's going to be some moment when I will feel confident and then I will get it done. I will be inspired and at my highest power, and then I will create my masterpiece, or I will, finally fix all the things that are wrong with me, and then I will make the phone call to the person I'm scared to reach out to. And those moments don't happen that way. And so I just want to start by saying I am still coming into full power. Full power changes day to day, right? Like today, I kind of woke up a little cranky and I was kind of figuring out, what am I going to do with my day ahead of me, where I need to do things like show up on an interview or run a group call, right? And I want to serve my people the best I possibly can. I want to, show up with whatever it is I've promised to deliver and then some, right? And one of the things that I've learned from this journey, which I will go back and answer for you in a moment, is that in fact, allowing things to maybe feel a little messy on the inside without that stopping us from taking some sort of action on the outside, to allow our passion, our ideals, the things that we long to do and want to do to lead the way, as opposed to it looks perfect, it's completely ready, it's a fully polished packaged dealio, right? And so going back to answer your question, I was very proud of the wins that I had in show business. I came out of the gate very ambitious. I was playing for, audiences of 3,000 when I was 8 years old as a concert pianist. I had the whole
Wow.
Wonderkin gifted and talented child thing, academically and musically. My perfectionism was instilled early on by, my family construct, a demanding mother, that, like all the things, right? And some undiagnosed mental illness in my family, things where and I hope that the people in our audience can relate. All of us are at effect of these types of things, and where we have some sort of instability or lack of safety, or some sort of way that our early families of origin or early caretaking environments brought us to some sort of sets of decisions about how it's going to be, or some beliefs about how we are. And, so I had that sort of double-edged sword of, I'm going to get everything right. I'm going to, fix it. I'm going to fix me. I'm going to be the perfect, A+ student and the good girl. And I'm going to show up and present and deliver, and everything's going to be amazing. And so that led a very high performance life for a long time, first academically, as a concert pianist, as a teenager, a competitor, recitalist. And then in college, when I fell in love with electronic music production, I went, I want to make music for car commercials and I want to conduct Broadway shows. And that's what I did, right? And I was pounding the pavement constantly, total, nonstop energy, go, go, go from, for most of my 20s. And I did rack up credits, as well as, for every success, 99 failures behind the scenes that I felt deeply ashamed of and that I never wanted anybody to know about. I was constantly expending energy and bandwidth to make things look good on the outside, no matter how it felt on the inside.
Right.
And, distilling those 30 years or so down to a nugget, I finally burned out, right? Like I completely exhausted and depleted myself. And it was a combination of a couple of very, very, very big gigs going south where they weren't supposed to in a way that had nothing to do with me, but over which I had no control. So that was a lesson, right? It was like, if I get everything right, it will all turn out perfectly. And guess what? You have no control over what happens outside of yourself, period. End of story. Even when we think we do, even when we think, oh, I'll have some influence here, or I have some say in how this goes, at the end of the day, that sort of control is completely illusory. We have no more control over other people, events, places, and things than we do over the weather. And sorry, I was about to get sidetracked into something else there, but I won't. So I had this kind of like a 7-year dark night of the soul, midlife crisis, come to Jesus with myself, where I realized that I needed to actually feel okay in my own skin, which I didn't, right? I didn't know how to be 45 instead of 25. I didn't know how to no longer be the young, cute one in the room being an upstart. I needed to learn how to embrace self-leadership within myself, to make a call, to make a decision without it being always about that external validation. So a bunch of stuff went south financially, emotionally, stuff in my marriage. So it was sort of all at once. And I sought mentorship to start with me and help me feel, like I said, safe in my own skin, and then start to explore, how else might I make money? How else might I be happy? How else might I don't know, not hate my life? Like, the bar was low in 2015, 16 when I was looking for how I was going to get better, right? It was like, I need to sort out some other way to do my life, like from the ground up. I went through lots of different programs and mentors and coaches, and ultimately found someone that clicked with me, where I realized, oh, this is something I can do. And it was the summit model that I still do to this day, which is essentially an affiliate partnership, getting experts together to speak on a topic that I'm passionate about and solve problems alongside them in front of an audience who cares. And then that audience becomes my community, and I move into some sort of offer or service. And that was the beginning of Productivity for Perfectionists, which 3 years in turned out to be a very successful coaching business. I rolled out Cobalt Coaching. I want to say, for all the perfectionist entrepreneurs in the house, you do not need a website to start a business. You do not need branding and a company name and lots of investments in business structures. You need a list of buyers and something to offer them. That's it. I did not have a website, literally. I did not come out as a coach online until 2020. When people came in
Wow.
for my programs, by investing thousands of dollars to work with me from the very beginning, they were like, where can I find out about this online? I was like, you can't. You find out about it on a call with me. It's invitation only. But I got good coaching and mentorship through all of that. In these last 7-8 years, I've always had business mentorship, spiritual mentorship, physical conditioning, wellness mentorship, right? I
Right.
joke, not joking, that I now invest more per year in coaching for me than I used to make doing Broadway shows, which is not far off. So that's where I am now. How about that?
Wow, yeah. And I can relate to so many parts of your story other than the showbiz part, but I too had my final big burnout in 2015, and it's been a slow climb out of that and into a new life since then. With
Yeah.
all those things, energy medicine and physical and
Yeah.
mental health, and yeah,
I think it's
like
so
when you
important just to
invest in you, you
acknowledge.
got a chance, right?
Yes. And it starts with actually acknowledging, like, I'm not, can we curse on this podcast? Can we curse?
I don't care.
Okay. I think the important thing, especially for recovering perfectionists, is to acknowledge, like, this is not my fuck up, right? This is not like I failed at life and that's why I'm so tired or depleted, or I just need to figure out, one more fix, or fix my diet, or fix my sleep, or fix my friendships, or fix whatever it is. And then I will be able
Then
to
I
function.
will
Like,
have the life I've always dreamed of, right?
right. It's like, actually acknowledge when you're tired. Actually acknowledge
Yeah.
when, like, enough is enough. Actually acknowledge when you're unhappy, right? That was something that took me a really long time, was, as long as things were looking good on the outside, I felt like I should be okay. And all I was
Hey,
doing was
I'm a PhD in
reinforcing.
psychology and I had that same problem. So I think it's
Right.
kind of a woman thing and a perfectionist thing that a
Yeah.
you and
Yeah,
me thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And of course, you're a psychologist, so it's not like perfectionist is a clinical diagnosis or anything. It's just the umbrella under which I find and am found by the
But
people I
it's
can help.
everybody understands that term though. And
Yes,
Deborah,
exactly.
we're going to head into a break.
Cool.
And then we'll come back and continue to pack up open for what really is this perfectionist thing and why can it be both a gift and a problem. You are listening to the Find Your Fabulous show, and we're going to take a short break. But before we break, Deborah, how can our listeners reach out to you and how can they get your hands on this lovely free gift you're offering?
Yes, absolutely. Go to www.howtogetbigthingsdone.com. This is a free video training that is hot off the presses. I love it. It is my best body of work to date. And what it does is help you get the big things done that matter to you without needing to fix, quote unquote, if you're not looking at video, your mindset, your habits, or your impossible schedule. It's a way of getting into action that counts in a way that feels good right away without, no offense, but 20 years of therapy or 19 courses or anything like that, right? It's a way of moving
Right.
from feeling stuck into feeling empowered, effective, clear, confident, all that good stuff.
Beautiful. And for all things fabulous, including my coaching services and free empowerment resources, you can check out my website at fullpowerwomen.com. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone. We're back on Find Your Fabulous with Dr. Diane. My guest today is musical professional and productivity coach Deborah Hurwitz, and we are exploring what perfectionism may be costing you. Deborah, so many career women I know, including my own darn self, have these perfectionist personality styles. It helps you to achieve for sure and get some validation and accolades, but it has a lot of problems. So let's start unpacking some of this.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing I want to say about perfectionism is it's really important to distinguish between a desire for excellence, high standards, smart, accomplished. You want your work and the world around you to reflect your striving for the best possible available outcome or result or work product. These are noble, valiant, wonderful things. And I do not ever suggest that you dumb it down or slow it down for somebody who can't keep up or look over your shoulder to drag people forward who are behind you. This was the bane of my existence as a child. It was like, why are you telling me to dumb it down? I want to dumb it down. I want to run with the fast ones, that sort of thing. So when we talk about don't aim for perfection or stop trying for perfection, we're not saying don't be excellent, don't hold high standards. What we're talking about is the perfectionism, which is an ism, like an addiction to continuing to push and try, which is not actually about striving for excellence. It's actually a very good looking cop out to fear. When we are afraid of fail, and Brene Brown talks about this, right?
Right.
Perfectionist fear dressed up in a mink coat and Jimmy shoes, right? It's like this is a way that we make it look good to cave to our fear of failure, fear of not looking good or being right. I want to bring a lot of compassion and respect to that because it's not like, oh, you're a coward or you're a fraidy cat. It's no, your nervous system is doing a phenomenal job of doing exactly what it's supposed to do, which is keep you safe, keep you breathing, keep you alive at all costs. But oftentimes the cost is the life you want as opposed to the life you've got. And when we register our safety like at a survival level in the limbic brain as being right, looking good, checking off all the boxes, making everyone around us happy, we're not going to compromise those standards. So we'll say, I'm not going to do that thing over there. I'm not going to publish my blog. I'm not going to put my first YouTube video up. I'm not going to have that challenging conversation with my bullying sibling, right? I'm not going to do those things because that could really upset the apple cart. And at a subconscious level, we're registering it as that could kill me. I might not survive that. Our nervous system, our brains are always looking for what we know we can survive. And those parts of us do not give a shit about the quality of our lives. They do not care about our career aspirations or our creative missions or our desires to change the world and make it a better place. They just want to make sure we're safe and breathing. So they will assist us, these subconscious parts of us, in maintaining status quo, even and especially when it's very painful for us. Because in some ways, those parts of us are very happy to reproduce the painful situations we keep trying to change, like procrastination, like imposter syndrome, like overwhelm and feeling like I've got too many ideas, I don't know which to choose, or I have to make the right decision and I can't make any decision. These are states that we spin in, hamster wheels, we deplete ourselves running in, that at some level are working beautifully, just the way they're supposed to keep us right where we are. So
Right.
we actually need to be willing to experience a different kind of discomfort to create the
Mhm.
change that we want. And that's what's behind give up on being perfect. It's not give up on excellence. It's not giving up on having it just the way you want it. It's give up on the endless quest to change what actually doesn't need changing, right? You don't want to have to manually make your heart beat or your lungs inflate 24/7. You want those parts of your body to take care of that. The autonomous nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system is doing just fine. Keep that going. But there are parts of your brain that associate other situations, circumstances, and emotional dynamics with being as necessary as the breathing and the heart beating. So, and we're not going to do an entire, curriculum on nervous system management right here, but with regard to perfectionism, what it really is and the costs, we want to look at, okay, what is it that you think you're up to when you say, I just need one more tweak, or I need to feel more confident, or I'll do it tomorrow? What is it that you are up to on the other side of that resistance, on the other side of that procrastination? Are you publishing a book? Are you making a movie? You launching a business? You losing a bunch of weight? You buying a house? You moving cities? What is it that is the end result of what it is you're aiming to do?
Mhm.
And then what will having that do for you? Like, really? Like, what is it? How will that make you feel? What will be the real gains in your life? Like, Simon Sinek talks about start with why, right? This is that conversation. What's your why? What is it that you want this for? Instead of going really myopic and drilling down into, I need to write the article, I need to write the article, I need to write the email, I need to make the spreadsheet, I need to make the phone call, I need to get up and work out, right? Instead of doing that, I need to meditate, whatever it is. Instead of drilling down into this granular thing that you're not doing and beating yourself up for not doing every day, all day for weeks, months, or years, what will doing this thing accomplish for you? How will that feel? What do you like about that? Like, feel into that for a minute. And then imagine yourself being the person having that. Like, that experience is the change you desire. It's not about doing the perfect meditation practice or going to yoga every day or, you know, losing the weight or buying the house or having the perfect vacation. It's not about those things or those metrics of success in that level of specificity. It's about feeling the way you want to feel.
Right. So like having a vision of this life you would love,
Yeah.
and then
And,
feeling how it would feel to be in that life
yeah.
and
How it
moving
feel to be
around
in.
in the world as if you were that person already.
Yeah, well, that's the, being versus doing conversation, right? Which is a whole other conversation, which I'm sure we can totally get into. But yeah, so does that answer your question about costs of perfectionism and what it's really about?
Part of it, I mean, yeah, I mean, it does, you know,
By
I
the
mean,
way, I want to send people to the free video training, of course, but I also do have a productive perfectionist quiz that's super fun. I
ah,
think in the show notes you'll have my website on that, and just go to my website at cobaltcoaching.com and you'll see the productive perfectionist quiz where I unpack 6 archetypes. What kind of productive perfectionist are you? And it's a how to turn your superpowers to work for you instead of against you, because so
very
much of the time our perfectionism, we see how it works against us, but we can't stop it or change it at a subconscious level because of everything we were just talking about, but at a conscious level because we don't want to give up something that matters to us, whether that's high standards, making people happy, looking good, being right, these sorts of things. And so it can really help to see, to like pull apart the threads of here's what's working for you, here's what's not, here's what you can do to capitalize on and
yeah,
optimize what you like and let go of what's getting in the way.
I love it. Yeah, I just think of like from my own experience, I can definitely talk about that and of many of my clients. It's that push energy where it never feels like you're doing enough. And then
Hmm.
even if you get your goal, you don't stop and savor that. You just push into the next thing,
Oh,
you
yeah, the next.
know? And it's like I remember in my feminine power coaching certification program that just the mentor said, "Do you ever stop and smell the roses once?"
Yes. I have literally made myself stop and smell roses when I come past them because I'm like, yes, this is what living is all about. I love
Right.
that you bring that up. And that's a great way to put it, a push energy. For me, and this is something that winners and achievers, I'm giving away to the archetypes, but when we are, as you said, pushing for something, there are certain types of like nervous system wiring. I have this where we absolutely need the next bone to go after. We need the next thing to go after. Otherwise, our nervous system starts spinning. I call it my driver. My driver will always be pushing for the next thing. I got to give it something to chew on. But what I'll do is when I've achieved that metric of success, and I've done this many times in my life for a long time, blind, just wondering why the hell can I not relax? I did it. I did what I said I would do. I achieved the metric. I accomplished the goal. Why can I not give myself a day on the couch and jammies and movies and pizza? Why can't I just enjoy a little rest? And it's
Right.
because my driver, which is associating doing and achieving with being allowed to exist, needs something to chew on. But I don't have to immediately go to work. I can line up the next thing and put it on the calendar for a day or 2 days or 6 hours or whatever it is from now, and know that that's in the works, and then give myself a fully indulgent, sanctioned kind of rest. So, all sorts of hacks that we have that we can work on these things with to achieve the kinds of, healthy, whole, full life well-being that we're looking for. But yeah, we got to know ourselves. We got to know, like, what's the stuff that I actually can't change, at least not consciously, at least not right now, and how can I work with that to still be able to do what I want to do and feel how I want to feel. And the last piece, I know we're running out of time on this segment, but the last piece, I don't know if you're not watching, just imagine a stairway, right? Where it's like a step straight up and then across, and then a step straight up and across. And what happens when we're in the kind of energy that you're talking about is we're struggling, struggling, struggling straight up, feels so hard, feels so hard, feels so hard. And then we finally get there and it's like, well, that was easy. Why was that so hard? I should be able to do that. Was like, I took too long. What's wrong with me? That was like no big deal. And or we poo-poo that wasn't that hard. I did it, so it must have been easy and not meaningful and not
Right.
important.
Not a big
Okay, here's
deal.
the next thing. Oh, I'm pushing so hard. I'm procrastinating. I can't do it. I'm stressed out. And then I did it. And we do that to ourselves without ever celebrating a win, without ever acknowledging the challenge of creating something new or different. Whether or not that's new or different for the world, it's new or different for us, right? And so that's sort of like step stair thing that we do to ourselves is also really important to recognize and address. Thanks for bringing it up.
Beautiful. So we're heading into another break. You are listening to Dr. Diane and the Find Your Fabulous show. When we come back, Deborah and I are going to continue to unpack the problems with perfectionism. But before we break, Deborah, again, how can our listeners reach out to you and get their hands on your lovely gift?
Thank you. I have a beautiful free video training called How to Get Big Things Done Without Needing to Fix Your Habits, Your Mindset, or Your Impossible Schedule. I teach 3 secrets on how to move out of being stuck into being stoked. It's all about making confident decisions without second guessing or waffling, even if you have FOMO or too many ideas. It's about getting big things done in very short amounts of time. It's about freeing up your time without bailing or failing where it counts. All of those perfectionist bugaboos that keep us stuck or spinning, not achieving the things that really matter to us. This is the training that addresses it. I would love you to watch.
Sounds very juicy. And for all things fabulous, including my coaching services and free empowerment resources, you can check out my website at fullpowerwomen.com or reach out to me directly at Dr. Diane at fullpowerwomen.com. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hello, you are listening to Dr. Diane and the Find Your Fabulous show. Oh, we're not going to take it. We are back and we are exploring the problems with perfectionism and how we can begin to find a new pathway. So, Deborah,
Yes.
tell us, you understand well the problems with perfectionism.
Mm.
Tell us about your wonderful program and the type of things that you're doing to help people go from like, stuck in this kind of rigid,
Hmm.
trying to obsessively get everything perfect and
Yeah.
all its pitfalls to more kind of creative, flexible flow.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think it'll be helpful to just draw a sort of brief timeline of what developed and how. So, initially it was uh, um, working with artists and entrepreneurs because that's what I had been. Uh, Bringing some awareness, compassion, forgiveness to just what is driving us and how that works, how we constantly, blame and shame ourselves or the circumstances in our lives against which we rail but have no control, right? And leaving us really kind of powerless and at effect of our circumstances or feeling at fault for how life is. And to see for myself how I could move into a place of choice and imperfect action and taking a kind of radical responsibility for my own situation and experience, and also feeling empowered to change that experience, regardless of what circumstances or people or situations I had control over. And in my very first summit, before I knew I had a business, right? Like it was just, here's another thing I'm trying. When I did my first Productivity for Perfectionists Summit in 2017, I did not know it was going to be the sea change of my life. And this is something I want to just really encourage people to understand is when you want change, you may not have any idea what that's ultimately going to look like. And trying to make sure that you've got it all figured out before you start is a surefire way to make sure you actually don't start, or that you don't get the maximum benefit of whatever change it is you're heading into. So I did find that mentor and program that I could really open wide to, park my inner control freak in the corner, do, follow the steps, do the homework. And one of the very first things that I did was get really honest about how it was for me at the time, where I was, Broadway show conductor, film composer, looking good, award winning, cute, married, all that good stuff, but the life behind the scenes was so much tougher than that. And I actually felt quite despairing and desolate in so many ways. And I got honest about that as I endeavored to see what problems do I care about solving? What experts am I going to bring together to solve the problems that I care about? What am I willing to acknowledge about my own journey and history that is in dire need of revision? And I got honest about how, even though I was doing a lot and looking good, there were things I had been procrastinating on for years at a time. It took me 14 years to do two records of my own. My own artistic voice was not getting so much floor time. I was too busy pounding pavements, beefing up the resume, making sure things look good. I mean, I got some good prestigious credits, but it wasn't my voice or my artistry or my creative self-expression I was developing. It was a resume. And it was a career that kind of belonged to others, right? Like I could get hired and fired, and I was mostly, at the mercy of the whims of people who mostly had their heads up their asses. I didn't own what I was doing or creating. And, so I started to get honest about that, about what I was chasing and what was driving me and how painful that actually was and how ashamed I actually felt in private of things that, nobody knew about, my inner state or things like that. And so then, so I build this summit, right? This sort of, roster of experts solving a problem.
Mhm.
And I got to learn a great deal about what was actually showing up for me that I didn't know. I didn't show up as the expert. I showed up as the curator, the reporter, right? I was like the Oprah or the Larry King. But meanwhile, I had this growing audience that was coming along for the ride. And then I, again, followed the steps in the program, stayed in the step I was in. I got great advice from that business coach and I worked with her for several years, and just being able to let go of knowing for certain what the outcome was going to be, stay in the step that I was in, maybe feel super shitty every day for a while doing it, wondering, worrying, but being willing to just keep moving forward, keep just taking one more step, send one more email, do one more little tech thing that I don't understand, like just that sort of thing, right? Just 30 seconds of courage, just one more thing, right? And then all of a sudden I had, these emails coming in from strangers all over the world going like, thank you. You're speaking to me. This is really helpful. And I was feeling so lit up and so inspired. And then I, made my way through this process of running this summit and doing a webinar and building all these things from scratch and having a moment of just sitting there at 2 a.m. in my studio in my pajamas going, I'm doing a webinar on how to stop procrastinating. And I'm totally procrastinating on doing the webinar and feeling like a complete fraud and a total imposter. Going, what the hell am I doing? Right. But then allowing myself to just keep taking that next step. Okay, here I am right in this moment, procrastinating and feeling like a fraud. This is what my people are going through. Okay, what do I want them to do? Okay, I want to take a deep breath. I want to turn towards my sliding doors and look out at my patio and just take a moment of peace and remind myself that I'm safe in this moment. I don't think I even had the language for it at that time. I just took a deep breath, right? Just went, okay, it's all right. Like it's 2 a.m. Nobody's chasing. I don't, you're not being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, right? You're just trying to put together a webinar, right? And then, okay, and I actually wrote down the steps I was taking in that moment to clear my head and calm myself down and bring myself back to something that I cared about sharing, that I thought might help, right? And it was just that one step after another, one thing at a time. And it wasn't until so you asked me to talk about the program. So that was the beginning. Was the first thing I offered was this free summit.
Yeah.
After which I offered a bunch more free stuff, which I loved because coming from the show business perspective of everything is promotion and selling it and making a buck, and then also my experience with network marketing where it was like chase the sale, recruit the prospect, right? And it was like not that I have lots to say about network marketing, and mostly it can be really right for the right person, but it was not the right thing for me, and I twisted myself into a pretzel and did more of the perfectionistic stuff that I had been doing, and it just was not the right fit for me. But I realized, okay, there's a way in which we can just keep going here and follow a step. There are a million systems out there, right? A million coaches, a million programs. Find the one that feels like a fit for you. Like, okay, I don't even know exactly where this is going to lead me, but I think I can take these steps. This feels like it might be my person. This feels like it might be my community. I like the vibe here, right? Like trusting those sort of intuitive hits, which perfectionists have a really tough time doing. We have a really tough time following our intuitive hits because our self-trust is so low. So I borrowed the trust that was available to me in the communities and programs that I stepped into. And then coming out of that, I get on the phone with this musician who had been making music for nobody for 20 years. And I really felt into what he needed and what he wanted. And I realized, like, I can help you. And then I made him a $10,000 offer of a mentorship on the spot, and he said yes. And I took a $2,500 credit card payment over the phone on a Stripe account I had set up the day before my first sales call. And this is definitely a results not typical thing, but it was the fruition of years for me of attempts at transformation and imperfect transformations and things that went south but taught me something, right? And then I did the same thing the next week and the same thing 2 weeks after that. And then on this platform for helping artists and entrepreneurs improve their creative output that had not existed 6 months earlier, I suddenly had $75,000 in the bank. And that was the beginning. So now what I've built out is a whole coaching company, a big, beautiful community. I still do the Productivity for Perfectionists Summit every year. Yes, it's a mouthful, and sometimes even I trip over it, but that's sort of the fun of the game. So I still do that summit every year. I do have a suite of programs and courses. My signature program is Mission Accomplished, where I have a cohort every year that goes deep into making these big dreams come true. So people launch businesses, write books, finish their plays or their movies or their poetry collections or whatever it is. I have, as I said, artists and entrepreneurs, but I've also expanded. I work with executives, academics. I work with busy moms who are trying to juggle it all, right? I work with
Yeah.
people who are in transition, second, third act of life. Okay, I did all of that. I had the power gig. And now, like we were talking about stepping into power before, I had power in the public domain. Now, what does it look like for me to have power in my life? What does it look like for me to have power within myself, within my inner circles? What does it look like for me to have fulfillment, not just achievement? So, and that's a really sweet spot for me because that really brings together leaning into that self-trust, leaning into those desires that have either lain dormant or been raw and unfulfilled, leaning into a place where you can actually have that experience you desire and achieve tangible material metrics of success. So I love to bring together those pieces of heart and soul and desire and passion and purpose with structures of get it done accountability, time
Mhm.
management, which is really attention management,
Yeah.
structures of community and support that bring that compassion and respect to the system as it is and stop making yourself wrong for not being able to do the things you keep meaning to do, because it's not like you can consciously override the stuff that's getting in the way of the change that you want. So that's how I work in Mission Accomplished. Conduit is my graduate mastermind where you go after Mission Accomplished. And I have this beautiful course that you will discover when you sign up for the training, called the Impact Course. That's a 10-week kind of mini process to unblock and get moving and prioritize and achieve all of those changes that we often want and can't create for ourselves.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. So I think we're going to head into our final break here, and then we're
Okay,
going to come back and talk about some more juicy stuff. So you are
sounds good.
listening to Dr. Diane on the Find Your Fabulous show. When we come back, we're going to continue into pack perfectionism and the pathway to this radical thing called self-love.
Sounds good.
Before we break, Deborah, one more time, tell our listeners how to reach out to you and get their hands on your free gift. And the link, by the way, dear listeners, will be on the podcast description.
Yes, yes, yes. And if you're just listening, www.howtogetbigthingsdone.com. And it is a free video training, very juicy, action packed. Like it is actionable. It is not like a 45-minute sales pitch to go buy a thing so that you can get somewhere. It is, in fact, something you can take with you to put to work immediately to get unstuck, start moving, make decisions about your time, your projects, your priorities, start freeing yourself up to do what you want and mean to do. It's called How to Get Big Things Done Without Needing to Fix Your Habits, Your Mindset, or Your Impossible Schedule. I mean it. I stand by it. Go get it.
And to learn more about my self-coaching services and free resources like the Gifts of Self-Love mini course, which might come in handy, and my ebook on self-compassion, just go to fullpowerwomen.com. You can also find replays of all my podcasts up to date, or you can reach out to me at Dr. Diane at fullpowerwomen.com. So stay tuned. We're going to come back with some even more juicy stuff right after this break. Hello, dear listeners. We're back on the Find Your Fabulous show with me, Dr. Diane, and my very special guest, career artist and productivity coach, Deborah Hurwitz. And we are exploring life beyond perfectionism. So this is February, the month that celebrates love in all its form. My last podcast focused on specifically the journey to self-love. Let's unpack why, Deborah, building self-love can help you create your most creative, satisfying, authentic, and purpose-driven life.
Mm. That is a novel in and of itself.
It
So,
is.
I'll share with you actually something that I shared on one of my coaching calls today on that theme of love. And, we've been talking for, the better part of this hour about how challenging it is for perfectionists to trust ourselves, to lean into any sort of internal validation or motivation, that we're always kind of looking out there to feel okay, or looking out there, whether it's people pleasing or controlling or micromanaging, to create some sort of safety within ourselves. And at the end of the day, I know for myself and most of the people that I help, self-love is tricky, right? It's like we have come from environments where we might not have had unconditional love or unlimited love. Love might have felt sort of twisted or painful. It's more like love hurts seems a little more true than love heals or love wins. And so one of the ways that I like to approach self-love, especially when it feels elusive or feels like it's not going to help or feels painful, right? When we're not actually tapping into love as unconditional, unlimited life force, but rather the human realms of love, which can be so terribly imperfect and sometimes hurtful, that I come to self-love through the path of forgiveness. And that forgiveness can often be more easily accessible to us perfectionists, where it's like you might know the idioms or the adages. You might know, oh, no one can love me until I love myself, or nobody can treat you better than you treat yourself. It's like you might know that intellectually, but like, hell if I can do anything about it, right? Unless I start going into some really deep places. And it can be actually quite crushing and painful, reinforcing the idea of I'm doing it wrong. I don't deserve love. I'm unworthy. I don't know how to love. I'm bad at love. Nobody loves me the way I need to be loved. How I love or am loved or want to be loved is wrong or weird, right? These are the kinds of things we're walking around with. And so just even the term self-love can just feel like already a beatdown before we're even out of the gate, right? And if this is you, then I want to offer that forgiveness is a way in. That whatever, and try on these presuppositions to get there. Try on that whatever happened earlier in your life, whether it was your breakup from last week or some shit that went down when you were 4 years old, you did the best you could at the time with the options that were available on your menu then. And that whatever anyone else might have done that might have been harmful, damaging, something you're walking around with, big T, little t trauma, which whatever it is, that they were doing the best they could at the time with what they had, right? That they were radically imperfect. And you were a projection in their life, and you're a projection in their projection in your life. And we're just walking around, like kind of stumbling around in the dark, doing the best we can with what we've got. And if you take
Yeah.
as a presupposition, we're doing the best with what we've got at the time. And now here I am in this moment with a new opportunity. Here I am in this moment with an opportunity to create a new present and therefore empower a new future. So if my experience of love or my associations with love are twisted, negative, damaged, or damaging, whatever it is, I have an opportunity right now to decide what I would like and take some sort of action, choose a thought that gets me closer to what I would like. Like even just journaling for 10 minutes on what is unconditional love? What does that even mean? Right? What is the best of me if I could access that? What is the best of whoever I'm thinking about right now if I could access that? What does it look like for me to feel whole and complete? What does it look like for me to trust myself? If I could trust myself, if I actually understood what the fuck this self-love thing is all about, what would that feel like? What would I have? How would things be different? Right? And to just kind of feel into the experience that you would like, and then begin to empower yourself to take it by forgiving yourself for what came before. And that includes forgiveness. And I know we're not going to get into a lot of depth on this right now, but in essence, and this is another presupposition, try on that no matter what was done to you, with you, at you in the past, whatever anybody else out there did, whatever you're carrying around today is you. And if you're still suffering, it's you. And if you are still putting the blame on what somebody else did for why stuff is wrong and why you're suffering, you're giving that person a lot of power. And they're
Right.
not here to do anything about it. The suffering you're walking around with today is the suffering that you're carrying forward. They say resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die.
Exactly.
Right? So there's an opportunity to forgive. Like, so for example, somebody did something you had no control over. We're not talking about blaming yourself for shit other people did, ever. Okay, ever. The impact was real, the hurt was real, the damage was real. Okay, and that happened in the past. And now, where are you? And now, what would you like? And now, how do you want things to be different? And if you're not there, then you're the one you need to forgive. And that's where we start.
Beautiful. And I would add to that the entree I use with folks working in a therapeutic environment is teaching them the basics of self-compassion because I'm working mostly with women
Hmm.
and we are experts at giving compassion. And it's like we're just flipping the focus,
That's
folks.
it.
We're just flipping the focus.
Yeah.
And, I got trained under Dr. Kristen Neff, and I use her, the more Buddhist self-compassion prayer forms, mantras, meditations, because it's universal and four little lines you can remember. And
Yes.
it's also a way and involves, because I also teach Ho'oponopono, which is
That's what
has
I was
that
teaching today.
this point, right? So we do
Yeah.
the Buddhist self-compassion, then the Buddhist loving kindness, and then the Ho'oponopono, and then you like loving me, soothing me, loving myself and others, and then learning how to forgive myself for being imperfect.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Ho'oponopono is beautiful. And like you said, well, the Buddhist thing you said 4 lines you can remember. Ho'oponopono is also 4 lines that you
four
can
lines,
remember,
as is
right?
loving kindness.
And
They're all four lines. So that's
yeah, and let's just tell him, right? It's I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you. I love
I
you.
love you.
And the beauty of that is you can just be kind of spreading the goodwill and grace of an apology and a request and a give, the compassion, the appreciation. It's really kind of a prayer for wholeness, right? And the meaning of Ho'opono is all these like to amend and to supervise and to bring together and to make right and all of these things. And it those four lines together bring these requests and appreciations, the giving of gratitude, the receiving of gratitude, the giving of appreciation, receiving appreciation, right? It's like generosity and healing all wrapped up into one. And you don't even necessarily need to have anything in mind or anyone in mind to forgive or to thank or to love.
Right.
You can just be bringing that energy to the present moment and focusing on the words and seeing where it lands in your body, seeing what experience arises as a result of just focusing on those words and your breath and your body for like 1 minute. It can really change things.
Absolutely. And on that, we're gonna wrap up this beautiful conversation with Deborah. But Deborah, one more time, in case people came late to the call, how
Please.
can they get their hands on your beautiful free gift?
Yeah, so speaking of forgiveness for what's ever come before and jumping into what it is you would like now, I invite you to step into this free video training, which is on how to get big things done, i.e., the things that really matter to you, the things that do not have a deadline, but that have maybe been waiting in the wings for a very long time, the things that no one's knocking on your door to do, but that you care about, whether that's a life mission, a creative mission, some way in which you want change and goal achievement in your life, how to get big things done without, very important, without needing to fix your habits, your mindset, or your impossible schedule. So it's really contoured for perfectionists to take all those things that are getting in our way day and night for weeks, months, or years at a time, and to clear the field so you can actually move forward on the projects and goals that matter most to you. Go watch it.
Beautiful. Go watch it. And the link will be on the podcast description to make it even easier. And to learn more about my coaching services and free empowerment resources, check out my website at fullpowerwomen.com or reach out to me directly at Dr. Diane at fullpowerwomen.com. I want to thank my very special guest, Deborah Hurwitz, for sharing such powerful information. And I want to thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in to the show. I had a wonderful time. Please join us every first and third Monday of the month at 8 a.m. Pacific time, 10 a.m. Central, and 11 a.m. Eastern time. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you back on March 3rd. Until next time, go out and find your fabulous, because you deserve no less.
Thanks, everybody.
I'm your host, Dr. Diane, and you have been listening to Find Your Fabulous. It's time to ignite your full power. Tune in every first and third Monday of the month at 8 a.m. Pacific time on Transformation Talk Radio for information, inspiration, and revelation to ignite your personal power. Connect with other bold, courageous, and powerful women who are ready to stop playing small and reclaim the passion and purpose that we all hold within us. The world needs you, full power. To find your fabulous and ignite your inner goddess, visit fullpowerwomen.com.